You know how some things just stick in your mind? Well, three things about Christmas in 1960 stick in my mind so much that I can remember it as if it was yesterday. Join me and we'll go back in time to 1960. The three things that remind me of Christmas in 1960 are the incredible snowstorm, my Uncle George, meeting him for the first time, and the amazing Christmas presents that I found that year. The first two actually come together, the snow and my Uncle George. Back in 1960, I went to an infant school called Inverdee, which was about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away from my house. The school was the bottom of a hill. My house was really at the top of this hill. I can remember watching out of the window in the morning of that day, and the snow was coming down, and it was coming down, and it was getting thicker and thicker and thicker. So much so that we weren't allowed home at lunchtime as normal, but we all had to stay in and have school dinner. Then, in the afternoon, as it was time to go home, my teacher took myself and various other children, once we got dressed in their outdoor clothes, took us by the hand and led us round to the side of the school, then up the lane where a group of parents and friends were waiting for us. She looked at the list in her hand and said, "Mr. Bain," and my uncle, as he was, stepped forward and said, "Yes, I believe you've come to collect Alan." And I was handed over, and we trudged through the huge drifts of snow, with the snow still coming down, until we got home. Unbeknown to me, earlier that morning, my uncle had come home from his ship in the Merchant Navy, had managed to catch the last train into Aberdeen as he was trying to get home for Christmas. However, by the time he got to Aberdeen, all the transport was starting to come off. There were no trains, there were no buses, so it looked as if he was going to have to spend the day or Christmas with us. Because my sister was only 3 years old, my mum couldn't leave the house to pick us up. So she'd gone down to the bottom of the road, phoned the school, given details of her brother, and he said he would come and collect me. So, met my Uncle George for the first time, and trudged through this horrendous snowstorm to get back home. Very soon it was Christmas Eve. We did the usual things, like put out the plate with the mince pie, the little glass of sherry, and the carrot for Rudolph. We then hung my dad's big socks up on the pulley, and then off to bed. I wonder what time we got up. I can remember my dad saying at 2 o'clock, "Get back in your bed." At 4 o'clock, saying, "Get back in your bed." And at 6 o'clock, "Get back in your bed, it's far too early." However, once we were allowed up, we went run down the stairs, and there in the lounge was 2 stockings filled with stuff and 2 presents wrapped in Christmas paper. I wonder what they could be. However, we went and got the stockings first. Stockings just like this. My dad's big sock hanging from the pulley. So let's have a look and see what we had. So, first of all, a book. Must keep the brain cells moving at Christmas. And then a lovely big red rosy apple, lovely and shiny. Didn't know what this was called, but I later learnt it was called a satsuma. We all know what this is. They seem to be a bit bigger then. Lots of chocolate money. A new pencil. And a florin. Now, a florin was 2 shillings. 2 shillings was a lot of money in those days. So that's what was in the stocking. But under the stocking was this big box covered in Christmas paper. Ripping it all off, inside was a Hornby wind-up clockwork train set with all the track and a pair of points and a train and 3 carriages. Quickly, space was cleared in the carpet. All the track was slotted together. The train was wound up. And whiz, it went round and round and round and round this track. I spent hours with that, so much so that my knees were red and rubbed. After the excitement of the morning, it was time to get ready for the big Christmas dinner. We always had this in the afternoon at about 1 o'clock, so that after the meal we could all sit round the little 10-inch black and white TV to watch the Queen's speech. So Christmas dinner was homemade soup, homemade vegetable soup with vegetables out from the garden, carrots, onions, potatoes, turnips, swede. And then the main course. This was a roast chicken. Nothing so fancy as a turkey for us, that was unheard of. So a roast chicken served with roast potatoes, carrots from the garden again, Brussels sprouts from the garden again, with lashings of hot gravy. Pudding was always Christmas pudding. My mum had made this in November, and on Christmas Day you could hear and see the steam coming out of the saucepan as it was steamed again for another couple of hours before it was served. Served with custard, and everybody hoping to find the little bit of greaseproof paper which wrapped up the silver threepenny piece, because this was the lucky one. After the Christmas dinner, we sat down and watched the Queen's speech on this little black and white TV, which was a second-hand one which my father's cousin, who worked in the TV trade, had gotten for him, along with a huge box full of valves which often had to be replaced in the back of the TV to make sure it worked. After the Queen's speech, the only thing that was left to watch was a black and white film of a pantomime, a live pantomime from the BBC. After that, it was nearly time for supper. A supper on Christmas Day was always the same. Homemade ham sandwiches with ham from the butcher, along with Mum's mince pies, and to finish off, a slice of her homemade Christmas cake. So, not a lot, no big piles of presents, no 6-course meal, no sitting watching lots of films, but family together, enjoying Christmas, and the added bonus of having my Uncle George from the Merchant Navy back home for Christmas. I hope you all enjoyed this reminiscence to 1960. What are your reminiscences of your past Christmases?